For people who are looking to get started, what do you think is the best business for people to get into right now?
I think the best business for someone to start if they've never started a business before is something that they already have tangential experience with. And so usually you have parents, friends, family, first jobs that you have some industry knowledge. So if you look at like Y Combinator, for example, they look for founders who have lived with the problem or have industry experience. And so if you have both of those things, like the likelihood that you will be successful with the endeavor that you're going in is significantly higher, because there's a huge learning curve to entering any new industry. And if you can just pay down some of that ignorance tax, even if the opportunity vehicle isn't the perfect one, you will still have a significantly higher likelihood of winning. And one of the big fallacies of your first business is that it's going to be your last business, and it almost never is. And so the idea is like, it's much more valuable to get started on something that you have a higher likelihood of success on, so that you can get some faster rewards for the behavior of getting into business. And then from there, get some resources, get some skills, and then you can have a better perspective from which to make a jump or a decision on what to do next. And at least that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. We were at the gym, Jack and I, the other day. Actually, 2 people came up to us, and they said that they love the podcast that we did together, the first one.
Yeah.
I think that's how they found the podcast, but that was both people separate referenced that podcast. Like, and one person said, when are you going to have Hormozi back on? I said, well, coincidence. He's coming like the next week. They had a question for you that I told them I would ask you. So if you ever see me in person, you want to have me ask Alex Hormozi something, you just ask. He was a W-2 employee.
Okay.
And he says he really likes your content and wants to know your advice to people who aren't selling anything.
Sure. But
they're an employee and they want to make more money. They want to get better at what they're doing. How could they apply your advice to them?
You have to figure out how your job directly ties to revenue in the business. And if you don't know, ask. Like fundamentally, like if you don't know how your job makes the business money, then ask. And then once you understand how you directly tie to money, then drive towards that. Because like fundamentally, every position in the business makes the business more money if the job is well designed. Otherwise, why are you there? Right? I mean, even if you're like, I'm a frontline customer service rep, it's like, okay, well, how do you, like if I had to ask that person, like, how do you make the business money? The answer is, if I do a good job, people will come back and buy again. If I do a good job, we'll have a lower percentage of people who will refund. If I do a good job, the business will be able to command higher prices off of word of mouth in the future. Like these are the things that you can explain and say like, okay, well then if those are the things that drive revenue, then I'm going to try and focus on those things. And then you can ask your boss, and this is a great question, is what would it take for me to make this? It's not saying I need to make that. It's just asking them to solve the problem. Like what would it take for me to earn that? And then they can give you an objective metric. Now your boss might not be high enough. And then you say, cool, can you ask the person above you? And by doing it that way, you're also being clear, like, I want to make the business more money. What would it take for, and in doing so, I would like a small percentage of the increase that I'm able to bring. Like, what would it take? And I think that's a great way to have that conversation. Layla, my wife, also makes tons of content for like how to ask for raises, how to negotiate that stuff on her channel as a side note, when she's more knowledgeable than I am about it.
Now, I do think though, a lot of careers out there will never give you that opportunity. You say, I want to, make more money, or I want to do more. They're going to say, you get back to your desk. Just focus on that. Yeah. And there aren't really those opportunities out there. In those situations, would you recommend looking for work elsewhere?
I think small businesses are a good opportunity for that stuff. So if you're like in a massive corporation, you can quickly cap out and get like lost in the shuffle if it's this massive org. And so I think it makes sense to go get basically a stamp of approval from maybe a name brand company that you can then leverage into a smaller business that you'll have a lot more impact, a lot more opportunity for growth. Most entrepreneurs are far more receptive to anyone who says, I will help you make more money. And so, again, if you can change your environment, you'll often be able to change your behavior.